Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. I'm Kenny Bedwell, and I'm going to be talking about how you can save thousands by doing a few things before you actually launch your short-term rental. First off, before I dive into this episode and this topic, I want to just remind everybody, and if you know about this or not, the STR Wealth Conference is going to be on July 22nd through the 25th. It's a 3-day event that's all about, how to essentially level up your short-term rentals. They're going to be talking about investing in boutique hotels, co-hosting, marketing, design, even Pace Morby and what's his name? Jerry Norton. He does a big wholesaling thing. They'll be there. So a lot of different topics are going to be covered. It's going to be a really, really big event. Expecting about 2,000 people to be there. And this is in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's the strwealthcon.com if you're interested in going. Why I'm bringing this up, STR Insights is one of the sponsors, and we go all out. We bring our entire team. And if you are an STR Insights Property Finder client, we are holding a client appreciation dinner on the Tuesday night. And if you're interested in that, you have my email. Please reach out to me. If you haven't already registered for that, you do have to RSVP for that so we know you're coming, and get your t-shirt size. But would love to see you guys there regardless, whether you're a client or not, just at the conference. And come hang out, come say hi. That's July 22nd through the 25th. Okay, let's talk about saving thousands, because, I mean, that sounds really cool, right? So first off, one of the biggest things that people underestimate the process of actually launching the property, what it takes to get to launch. A lot of people in their heads understand, like, okay, I have a property, I'm probably gonna have to bring in a designer. Some properties need contractors, furniture, like all these things have to be done. I have to create the listing, then I can launch it. But in our brains, we like to think sequentially, like, okay, first I need to do this. Then once that's done, I need to do this. And then I can do this and this and this. But the problem with that is it takes a lot of time and your holding costs build up. So when we're trying to launch with speed, and this is what's going to save you thousands of dollars, because if you save 1 month, there's thousands of dollars right there of time, meaning like if you're 1 month quicker to launch than if you had done things sequentially. So what do I mean? We want to do things at the same time. We want to be handling things at the same time, or trying to our best, if possible, to have the same people working on projects and doing things. But I believe it all starts when you go under contract. When you go under contract, you need to immediately start engaging with contractors, especially if you're going to do some sort of renovations or updates to the property. Then you need to go in, bring in the contractors during the due diligence period to help you understand what the costs are going to be. And assuming that everything is fine with that, then you can move to planning out and scheduling when they can come. One of the biggest problems I've seen recently, our investors are enamored with certain designers, which is okay. There's some really good designers out there, and they get on their wait list, but their wait list is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months out even, which is crazy to just get started. Okay. And they might do a virtual design, but they can't actually start on the property until 6 months after the property closes. Well, that's 6 months of holding costs. Are you actually calculating that into your pro forma? Because most people aren't, and they think they get this really good return, but then they had 6 months of holding costs where they were just paying out of pocket for that property sitting. And so when we engage with designers, when we engage with contractors at the very beginning, when we launch a property, we're going to see a lot better result, quicker result. And we know maybe, you know what, I might love this designer, but they're just not on my schedule, right? Like you want them to be there like day one, close on the property. There's a plan in place. They can come in. Now, look, if you've got this great designer and it's a month out from, launch, that's okay. But the reality is we need to be strategic, and we need to start having that conversation when we go under contract. Now, what do I mean by that? When you get under contract on a particular property, you need to start calling designers. I recommend calling 3 or 4. I think at a certain point, they all start to, blur together. And so look for 3 or 4 designers in the styles, that you like, and then call them and have conversations with them and get their estimates and their timeline. So you want to quote, but not just a quote. Don't just make a decision based on price. Make a decision based on price, game plan, like what's their mindset, what are they thinking about doing with the property. Now, they're not going to get into specifics, but they'll just give you some ideas. And then finally, their timeline. Okay. Those 3 things together really make up whether or not it's going to be the best option for you. And it might not be the cheapest, but at the end of the day, if their timeline is faster and if their vision is better, you're actually going to pay a lot less than just what the price tag for their design is. And I think that's really, really important that people don't think about. They're just looking at the price. Well, how much is the design? Oh, that's really expensive compared to so-and-so. But how long does it take this person to get done versus so-and-so? What type of product are you getting delivered? Now, so that's really important. I like to engage with designers, like I said, when I go under contract, and then I will actually submit a down payment to the designer when I am through due diligence. Meaning, like, I'm completely satisfied with the property. I know I'm going to buy the property. I've done all my inspections, and I'm through any of the due diligence. The property appraised. That's usually like right. If I know the property is going to appraise, then I'll go ahead and submit a deposit for the designer. The designers, the way they work is they will not engage until you pay a deposit, like, because it's work, right? They have to start doing everything, getting everything together. Most people wait until they close on the property because then they know the designer is going to do that. But if you already are in buy mode, and let's say something, worst case scenario, the house falls through, financing falls through because that's really the only piece left to close on the property at that point. Financing falls through and you can't close on the property. Well, the designer will take that and credit that towards another property. So, but in your in buy modes, and that's going to happen anyway. So what's really the risk, right? So get under contract, do your due diligence, engage with designers during that point in time. And then when you're through due diligence, and usually with the appraisal, pay the designer, get them started on the house. You're going to have to do a Matterport, walkthroughs, all these things. That the Matterport's the video and the picture, like where they do like the 3D imaging and stuff, where they can get sizing and they know, like, okay, these are the room sizes so we can properly design it. You have to do those things. And so it's better to do them while you're under contract and just sitting on your hands waiting for things to happen. Get the designers involved, get the contractors involved who are going to be doing updates and renovations, and start scheduling things. Okay. With contractors, I know, once again, similar to designers, they want some sort of down payment. I understand, well, some of them at least. I understand that might be a little bit more riskier, especially when you haven't closed on the property. So maybe wait, but tell them, like, look, like, when this hits this date, we're going to give you the down payment, but I want you to come on this date. Go ahead and pencil me in. And I haven't had a contractor say no to that. And we've been able to, like, really plan it out a lot better and a lot faster. I'm telling you, if you do those 2 things right there with the designer and the contractor, you're going to save so much time, usually about a month at least, especially if you have a bigger project on your hands. So you got to think about, with the condition of the property and the type of project you're engaged in, it can take months to get a property ready. And usually, so there's 3 types of properties out there. There are turnkey properties. They usually take about a month. Because turnkey properties, although quote unquote turnkey, there's still a few things we have to update, a few things we want to add to the property, usually just adding something, right? Okay, it could take up to a month to launch. Properties that need a little bit of value add, I call it lipstick on a pig, meaning like, painting or floors or, updating countertops or vanities or whatever. It's not crazy renovations, but still some like updates and furnishings and amenities. That's going to be a 2 to 3 month project. Properties that need full-on renovations, adding bathrooms and gutting things and getting down to the studs, that's going to be a 4, 6 month, even 8 month process, depending on the project size. So, like, that's just normal. You're not going to beat that unless you're doing it yourself. And so understanding that timeline is really important. Last little tidbit with the contractor side, furnishing or getting the property furnished and getting photos. I think those 2 are kind of like go hand in hand together. you need to get that scheduled out. Most of us, and the reason why is, I'm speaking to people who are going to hire this stuff out. If you're going to do it yourself, then that eliminates that issue, right? Of having to get your property furnished. You're going to do it yourself and you can do it whenever you want to do it. However, other people don't have the time to do it, especially in these bigger properties, and they have to go and they have to hire someone. If you wait until the designer is finished and then you try to schedule them, you're going to have a hard time finding somebody who can do it anytime soon. It's the same problem. It's the same dilemma. So when do you do it? You do it when the designer starts on, or when they have the final designs and they're starting to work on the property. Usually they'll give you a timeline. Okay. You want to get through any of the gotchas. All right. So for example, we had a property where, we were tearing up the flooring and they found like mold and they found some like rot and they found all this. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, that's going to take us an extra week because we now have to replace this, this, and this. And, we got through all the, and then they opened everything up that they needed to, and boom, and then there were no other problems. That was it. That was the only gotcha. That's what I call a gotcha. Okay. Now, if you're doing a lighter update or a lighter, like murals and things like that, it's just based on people's schedules and when furniture and stuff's coming in, which you can work with the designer to know. But you need to know once things get started, what's our timeline here? What's our estimated date? How are we tracking to that date? Because the reality is you want to I would say give it about 3 days to a week, getting a furnisher or whoever's going to set up the furniture in there. And then based on what that person says, okay, yeah, it's going to take us a week or 3 days or whatever, then the photographer immediately in there too. So you got to get these things scheduled out. The best photographers I know, we've had them, Andrew Keller is one of them. We've had him on the podcast and did an episode with him. The best photographers I know, they're 2 to 3 months out and they're trying to look for different regions to go to. And so it might not work if you're trying to do it last minute and you have to hire somebody local. Then you got to, schedule way out in advance with Andrew or Sam. But the reality is you have to plan in advance. Okay. So I love to engage with photographers and schedule with photographers when the designer starts the design process and they get over the gotchas with the renovation or any of the updates of the property. Now, if you're doing a turnkey property, you probably need to do it a lot sooner than when the designer starts because it's already designed, right? There's a turnkey, right? It's like you're adding to it. So it's probably when you're through due diligence and you haven't closed on the property that you're actually engaging with the design or the photographer to get the photos lined up. These are things that people just don't have on their radar until it's too late. The best and the most experienced and, the people you want to work with who are going to give you the best results, there's a line. They can't just work on, your perfect schedule. They have, they're booked out. So get ahead of it. And if you get ahead of it, you're going to have better odds of getting these people, saving yourself time, which will save you thousands of dollars. So when it comes to saving thousands of dollars before launch, it's all about your game plan. It's all about having, knowing when stuff's coming in, who's working on what, and making sure people aren't getting in their way, but also things are happening at the same time. The better you can plan that crap out, the quicker you're going to be able to launch and get results and start making money rather than just paying for holding costs all the time. So, I say all these things, the plan and all this stuff, but there will be moments that don't go to plan. There will be things that get pushed out. There will be issues. This is normal in real estate. There have been none of my properties that have been a perfect launch based on the schedule. And in fact, my Texas one, we were like, cool, we closed in April. All right. They didn't start in doing any of the contracting work until May, which was really frustrating, but we were going back and forth for a while. And, we shouldn't have done this, but we sped up the close, which I don't know why we did that. But anyway, I'm still learning how to do it is my lesson. But every single time we go through the process, we're like, how can we make this better and more efficient? Because that's going to save us money at the end of the day. These holding costs are killer, $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month, $5,000, whatever it is. You don't want to be paying it. And so the better plan you have in place, the more likely you're able to get up and going. But don't expect a perfect execution. And I think that's where a lot of people, you will run into hiccups. There will be problems, hopefully minor problems, but there can be problems, I should say. And so prepare yourself. But the planning starts before you get under contract. Yep. Line out. Go ahead and start looking up the designers. Go ahead and start, if you're looking at a particular market, start looking up getting contacts for contractors and even look at photographers who you potentially want to use and start engaging with them, especially if you're in buy mode and you're like, I'm about to find something and you've been looking at properties or seriously vetting a property. You need to look at the photographer schedules that you really want to use, and go ahead and start getting this stuff figured out. I'm telling you, you're going to get a better result if you're proactive about it instead of reactive. So do those things, and that will save you thousands of dollars before you even launch and get you ahead of your goals. Cool. All right. That's it for this particular episode. On the next episode, I'm going to bring in a person who's been on before at the very beginning when I first launched one of the first episodes I launched, Kim Fitzpatrick with Launched Host. She focuses on setting up properties, furnishing them. Pretty much the most stressful part of short-term rentals, if you've ever done this before, is setting up a short-term rental, right? And getting all the furniture together and all the nuts and bolts and crap that you have to put in them. And so Kim does that for a living, which is absolutely insane to me. And she has some really cool tips and tricks about how to do that with speed. But more importantly, though, we're going to talk about preventative maintenance. So you can save thousands after the fact, after you've launched with a property by setting it up right the first time. And it's not just about screwing in all the screws all the way. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to that episode. You're going to learn some really, really cool things. I kid you not. She was telling me things I personally did not know. And I was buying crap that she was recommending on that episode live. Like from it, I was like, dang it, I need to buy these things. Like it was really good. So I want you to listen to that episode. If you found this episode helpful, I would love a review on Apple or Spotify or iTunes or Spotify. And then finally, come to the STR WealthCon if you can. I would, and then if you're a client, you'd love to come to that dinner that we're doing, please reach out to me. Just send me an email and I will shoot you the details on how to RSVP. My name is Kenny Bedwell, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cash Flow Positive.